Good morning. Welcome to the Celtic Way Morning Briefing Live. I'm Tony Haggerty at a Haggerty10 on the Twitter handle, and I'm joined today by Ryan McGinlay at the Ryan McGinlay. How are you, Ryan? Are you well?
Yeah, I'm doing well. We're nearly finished with the week. It seems as if we've been talking about managers all week, but we never stop with regards to this morning briefing. So yeah, I'm happy to be on again.
And before I do anything, ladies and gentlemen, I think you'll all join me congratulating young Ryan, who I believe got a first class honours in his journalism degree. From what university was it, Ryan?
West of Scotland, University of the West of Scotland.
West of Scotland University in journalism studies, is that right? First class honours in journalism?
Sports journalism, yeah.
We will bow down to your knowledge, young man. That's a wonderful feat, and you should be very proud of that. So well done
Thank
to
you very
you.
much.
And I'm sure the commenters will say the same and wish you all the best. So yeah, congratulations, Derek Crawford, right in there. Nice one, thank you, Derek. But thought I would give you a wee hat tip for that. I know it came through
Thank you
yesterday,
very much.
but
Appreciate that.
we were too busy talking shop. And as you just alluded to there, I feel like the voiceover man in Big Brother, day 4, Tony and Ryan are still discussing managerial candidates for Celtic. You can just hear that in your head, can't you? But hey, as you say, we never stop, we go on. And first and foremost, guys, I'll direct your attention to the ticker tape running along the bottom, and it's for the click of a button, www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. Subscribe to the Celtic Way and support top quality journalism covering the club you love. We endeavour to provide that. And as I say, that's the click of a button, www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. So here we go. Yeah, lots of people coming in. Plunge McNugget. Well done, Ryan. All there, Ryan. There you go. Well done, Ryan McGinlay.
Thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it.
Sunder Scotland, well done, Ryan. And there you go. It's all there, sir. Yeah, magic.
Take it. Thank you very much, guys. I really do appreciate that.
Well done, fella. Nice one. Well, Ryan, day 4, Celtic still searching for a manager. And also, guys, we're going to have your Q&As, so get your questions coming into the comment section. We want to know your thoughts or your questions, and Ryan and myself will endeavour to answer them, as I always say, as honestly and professionally and as humorously as possible. Kim Ferrier, well done, Ryan. Joseph Harley, well done, Ryan. See, Ryan, they know. And Wood, well done, Ryan. Great future in front of you.
We need to get onto the more important stuff here. We need to talk about Celtic. You're making my head bigger than it already is, guys. Come on.
You're too modest, young man. You're too modest, but there you go.
That's it.
Yes, Ryan, couple of more candidates entering the frame today. I mean, one was taken at an airport yesterday, Des Buckingham. That was quickly shot down. Was it Mumbai manager?
But to an extent, yeah. Wonder if he'd maybe come in as an assistant to Enzo Maresca. I just wonder about contingency planning. Maybe there's more in that than we think. But I did hear also that there is a sort of managers sort of seminar going on in Scotland as well, which could be the reason why he's up there, or he could be up there to see friends. I've heard a couple of things batted about. It seemed as if the latest thing that was getting reported was he was there to meet friends. He is English, so. Yeah, it's one of those ones. People put 2 and 2 together and make 5, but it's we're going to get this as the managerial merry-go-round continues.
The Celtic have come out and said that it might take weeks and instead of days, Ryan. This would be interesting in the morning briefing, wouldn't it, if this drags on for weeks? But yeah, as I say, a couple of more candidates. Andoni Iraola, the Rayo Vallecano coach, has been linked as well. Ryan, he did well with Rayo Vallecano, hasn't he?
Yeah, he definitely has. I think he's currently unemployed at the moment. He didn't take a contract renewal at Rayo Vallecano, so it would be easier for Celtic to attract him if he was interested in the job and if Celtic chose him as a candidate, because he's not attached to a club. We wouldn't need to pay compensation. Very, very highly rated. He's done well on a sort of shoestring budget with Vallecano. Yeah, he seems to be really, really highly rated in Spain. I don't know too much about Vallecano, but I do know that they've been doing really well the past couple of seasons. So definitely a person of interest, I would say.
And Pascal Janssen, who has been linked just before we came on, by a couple of newspapers, kind of another left field candidate, surprise candidate, the AZ Alkmaar manager. Celtic, of course, played Pascal Janssens AZ Alkmaar, and they got to the semi-final of the Europa Conference League, which was won tonight by ex-Celtic defender Davy Moyes. So we say well done to West Ham and the Scottish man Davy Moyes winning a European trophy. Well done to them. And AZ Alkmaar, Dundee United, I'll have not sweet memories of them, Ryan. Scurried 7-0 after a 1-0 win at Tannadice. So Pascal Janssen, another name, just kind of, it's Groundhog Day, Ryan. There are names being flung about all over the place, but you kind of try and discuss them as we're moving along. But we stress and add that these are names that are appearing in media circles. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is the thing. You've got to report on every name as it comes in, because eventually, you'll go through about 20, 25 names, but one of them will be right eventually. Celtic will have a manager the next 2-3 weeks, I would say, I would hope. So any one of these names that's getting linked, one of them will probably end up with the job. It just depends on who it is and what their current situation is with their club, or if they're unattached with sort of getting their coaches in, because it does look as if Kennedy and Strachan, etc., they are going to leave the club despite Celtic wanting them to stay. I think if Postecoglou gets what he wants, and Kennedy will join him down at Spurs. But yeah, it's one of these situations. I wish it would go a wee bit quicker. I would hope that Celtic had a shortlist set up, because that's good business planning, good contingency planning. But at the same time, if they want to take their time and get the right manager through the door, then I'm not necessarily against that, because we don't have qualifiers to negotiate or sort of like a massive rebuild to do. It would just be a refresh rather than a rebuild, as we discussed yesterday.
Now, Ryan, Brendan Rodgers, the betting was suspended yesterday on him taking over, and everybody went into kind of a state of alarm. We spoke about Brendan Rodgers coming back on Monday. Have your thoughts changed on that? Would you welcome him back?
With open arms, yeah, with open arms. I've got to be honest. I know he left us under a bit of a dark cloud, but I'm always here for rehabilitation, and I always think he's done his time. We've been annoyed at him for years. I think the best way, time is a healer, and if he was to come back and win football games, I don't think too many people would complain. And plus, I think he would love a redemption story as well. I think Brendan Rodgers, the man, we know he does love himself. He would eat himself if he could. So if he was to come back, he would love a redemption story in order to put the sort of record straight and get a sort of a love back from the Celtic supporters, because I mean, despite the way he left, he was an absolute success at Celtic. I mean, he won every trophy that he entered in, apart from the European ones, obviously. Every domestic trophy that he was involved with, he won. So I think if he was to come back, yes, there would be some sort of some division from some sections of the fans, but I think that could be solved with winning football matches. And if he does a good job, then I'm sure he'd be able to turn people or to change people's minds.
Quoting Bob Marley again, Ryan, I did it yesterday. Exodus, movement of
redemption
the players.
Song.
Today's redemption song for Brendan Rodgers. Indeed, a redemption song for Rodgers. I'm on board with that as well. I did say and a kind of sliding scale, Kjetil Knutsen was my top pick. Possibly Graham Potter if you're thinking outside the box, but I would have Brendan Rodgers back as well for the reasons that you cited too. I just think he's a damn fine manager, and I think Celtic could, you want to continue that line of success that Celtic are currently on, and I think he would get more out of those players that are there as well. He would inherit a great situation, and if all those boxes could be ticked, then I wouldn't be against Brendan Rodgers coming back. He might have to win fans over, but I guess winning football matches is a good way of doing that. And if he can continue that period of domestic dominance, he would do that no problem. You would just want him to make a better impression in Europe, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and I see people in the comments saying that we would probably use it as a stepping stone again. I'm not so sure. I know he's done it once and he could do it again. But I think he realises that sometimes the grass isn't always greener on the other side. and he would see Celtic as a sort of opportunity to sort of cement his legacy at the club. Now, his legacy does have an asterisk next to it because of the way he left. But I think if he was to come back in a second spell, win some more trophies and make us a wee bit better in Europe. I know his European record wasn't great, but he was competing in the Champions League for 2 out of those 3 seasons. Your record isn't going to be great in the Champions League, especially with the teams that we're up against. I think when we returned to the Champions League, we noticed and we found out that teams had improved in the 2-3 years that we hadn't played there. There seemed to be a jump from when Gary Hooper was up front for us when we were beating Barcelona to the 3-4 years later where we were playing against Man City, where a draw was considered a win against them, basically. So I think the landscape changed in the 4 years that we weren't in the Champions League. But I think if he was to come back and he was to get backed, then I think he could do a good job both domestically and in Europe. Because I think under the sort of backing of Michael Nicholson and under the help of Mark Lawwell, it could work out this second time round, or it could work out better than it did the first time. But it's just all speculation at this point. But I would take him back, I've got to be honest.
Now, we'll go into the comments here, Ryan. Lots of people coming in, so we'll just go to the comments and see if there's any questions as well. Chill Pill coming in. I keep switching my preference here. If it's Rodgers we get, then fair enough. He'll win Celtic League every year, which guarantees them Champions League football. Michael Ross. Rodgers guarantees us being thrashed and embarrassed in the Champions League. Can't believe how people quickly forget how utterly dreadful he was in Europe. Not just with Celtic, by the way. Pete McGee, morning Pete. It's got to be Knutson for me. Similar style of attacking football to Postecoglou and can win in Europe. Just ask Mourinho.
It's true.
He can. Yeah, he can. Michael Ross, practically any manager can bring success to Celtic domestically. I want a manager with a knowledge of how to win in Europe. That's where a great club must be judged. Just said that there a second ago. Brian Roberts, bringing Brendan Rodgers back would be a step back, but he would steady the ship meantime. Michael Ross saying Europe should always be the number one priority for Celtic, or they lack ambition. Derek Crawford coming in just saying that Janssen from AZ has been mentioned as well. And Danny McGrain asking a question. Who do you think are realistic targets for the jobs? Because there's some dross being mentioned. Okay, Ryan, who are realistic targets?
For a starter, I think anybody not linked with not in a job, because we would sort that. Celtic would be a job for them. So I think we could attract a really, really high quality manager if they weren't in a job. I think if they're already currently with a club, then compensation could be a bit of an issue. But if you want a really good manager, sometimes you've got to go out and pay for them. I mean, we paid was it about 12-13 million for Carter Vickers and Jota combined. If you can spend about 6 million to get somebody out of a contract that's going to guarantee you good success and progression, then I think that's a no-brainer for me. I think you speculate to accumulate with a manager. A manager's so important, and he can get good results out of players and improve players. So if that sort of manager is available, then I think we should go for it. Rodgers is available because he's been previously linked with the club. He said he would want to return if the timing was right. I'd like to know when that timing was, or when he thinks that timing would be perfect. He's not in a job just now, so it would just be getting him a contract and getting him through the door. Other realistic managers, Maresca probably was, because we've been linked with him previously. He's been linked with the City group. He heard Pep Guardiola talking the other day about how he's got a good sort of relationship with the owner of Celtic, so maybe he's put in a good word with him. Other names, I mean, even the Janssen sort of link, Pascal Janssen. Celtic are a far bigger club than AZ Alkmaar. Now I know AZ Alkmaar have had good European results recently, but Celtic beat them 2 years ago to get into the Europa League. So that would be a step up for Janssen, in my opinion, and one that, if he wants to maybe progress his career and maybe move away from Dutch football. I know there's been a couple of links with other teams in Holland. So if he maybe wants a breath of fresh air or a sort of new challenge, then Celtic may be the place to go for him. But I think Celtic's a really, really attractive opportunity for any manager looking to sort of cut their teeth at a really big European club.
More comments coming in. Knutson would be a choice if the focus is on a European campaign. Gordon Coney, Rodgers and Brown is his number 2. Alan Brazil says Dermot Desmond, of course, with his connection with Pep Guardiola. and maybe getting a referral regarding Maresca. Touched upon that
Can
there.
you not just get Pep Guardiola?
Exactly. Alan was already said in Talk Sport that Pep would play a big part in who gets the job, i.e. Maresca. Also said and was 100% working behind the scenes for months to get the Spurs job. And Pep will obviously favour his assistant morning and how you doing, Dennis Jameson. Apparently Alan Brazil says he's a good source within Celtic. It'll be Enzo. Pep to have big say. I think he has just sort of said that on the radio, hasn't he?
Yeah.
McGarry, if Rodgers comes back, could he be here for years? He's had 2 proper goals at the English Premier League. Surely he wouldn't need a third. That's people saying that Rodgers would use it as a stepping stone to go back. FS saying it's about trust, so Rodgers doesn't tick that box. Michael Ross saying hire Rodgers is fine, but forget Europe. Guess it, any ambition, goodbye. And John Curry, most managers will see Celtic as a stepping stone because of the standard of the Scottish Premiership and the draw of the English Premier League and other leagues. And D-Mac saying, why would we Celtic take someone back who walked out in this for an inferior club, and we'll probably do the same again, keep him away, he says. Lots of comments there, Ryan, so it's all down to personal preference and opinion, isn't it? So,
I just think with Rodgers' record in Europe, I think you've got to earmark that or sort of caveat that with his lack of backing in his second and his third seasons. Now, you've got to remember in the first season he was backed. He did bring players like Sinclair in. I know Kolo Toure came in on a free. I'm trying to think back on other players that were brought in. But in the second and the third season, he wasn't back to the same extent. I think the board tried to penny pinch a wee bit. And you've seen the sort of decline in the team or the decline in the standards because players weren't getting brought in. I remember Celtic were linked in Rodgers' third season to Timothy Castagne, who currently plays for Leicester. He did get the move down to Leicester, but Brendan Rodgers did want him at Celtic. So I think it's all about if he would be back. He is a top-class manager. I don't think anyone's doubting that. He is a top-class manager. And if you back him, then I think the proof would be in the pudding with regards to the results. But that's not to say that if we were to bring another manager in and he was back, that the same results couldn't be got. Enzo Maresca would be coming into... I think that's the main difference between his Parma stint and if he was to go into Celtic. He'd be coming into Celtic on the back of a good team and he could implement his ideas. Sometimes it's difficult to implement specific ideas on lesser players. Now, I know he was working with Buffon and I think it was Vasquez as well, Franco Vasquez or something like that. There was a player that used to play for Italy. It's one of those ones where better players that he could work with, he could be able to implement his ideas better. So I've really got an open mind when it comes to the manager. I just hope that it gets resolved sooner rather than later and we can start making plans for next season, because the longer it goes on, the more people will moan about it.
Yep. More comments coming in. I'll flick them up, just trying to see where the last comment was. It's I think the list of managers brings a back saying is really underwhelming. That's why Celtic fans are certain for Rodgers, but it's not for him. But if we do, don't let him buy the players.
That's where Mark Law will be important.
The board must have known he was leaving. They should have been making a list of managers. Celtic need players in for Champions League. Can't drag on for weeks. It's from Peter King, Derek Crawford. Let's be honest, all the names being mentioned are all the ones in the bookies list. No one from the club has said anything. Nobody from the club has said anything. All they've said is that they'll take their time over it and they'll get the best possible candidate for it. Gary Madden saying it'd be different if Celtic had sacked Rodgers, but he moved on when he was at the peak of his powers. On the list of all rumours and candidates, Rodgers is head and shoulders above the rest, to be fair. Brian Roberts saying bring Bruni back with Brendan Rodgers as a coach, and he's well respected by the players. You said you wouldn't be averse to that earlier, Ryan.
Yeah, I think that'd be quite good. I think that'd be a good way to sort of soften the blow with some Celtic fans. If you've got Bruni's seal of approval, then I think that would wash with a lot of Celtic fans. If Scott Brown's saying it's all right, then I think it'll be all right for a lot of Celtic fans. Yeah, it's an interesting sort of situation. I don't know if Brown would take it though. It's interesting because I think maybe he wants to carve his own path before eventually coming back to Celtic in some capacity. He wants to cut his teeth down at Fleetwood. He seems to be enjoying the sort of quieter lifestyle down there alongside Stephen Whittaker he's got as his assistant manager as well. So I think the two of them are enjoying that, and they don't want to be moving anywhere soon. But if you don't ask the question, you'll never get an answer. So if Rodgers did want him in and around the club, then that would be an interesting one. What would really be interesting for me is if Rodgers did get the job, would Kennedy stay on? Would Kennedy be thinking, "Oh, I should have stayed on and worked under Rodgers again"? It's one of those interesting ones. He might already be gone by the time the new manager comes in, so it's a case of watch this space. But yeah, I think it is an exciting time to be a Celtic fan with all these names going about. I know it can be quite tedious hearing the same names and hearing rumours upon rumours, but yeah, it's an exciting time.
Scott McGill, I think it'll have to be someone from the City group. Seamus Gallagher saying there's two sides to every story, lads. The board were as bad as Brendan Rodgers when he was leaving mid-season. And Scott McGill saying, agree, Ryan, think Brendan Rodgers would do a great job with the current squad. And Darryl reminding us that Moussa Dembele was brought in by Rodgers, the same Moussa Dembele who is now searching for a club. Ryan? So,
yeah, I don't think the two of them are on the best terms, to be honest, Moussa and Brendan Rodgers. I mean, it'd be great for a reunion. I mean, imagine that. He was the first signing under Rodgers' original tenure.
Yeah.
I think we were actually doing the business under Dyla, but it seemed to get. He was signed on a pre-contract. I remember we got a sort of compensation fee, and that was it. That was all we had to pay for Big Moussa. But imagine that if he was our first signing for the second time for the reunion tour, you could say.
Yes. Now, still comments coming in about Brendan Rodgers. Raymond Haddon, I am in for Brendan Rodgers. He was let down by the board big time. Jill Powell saying, not sure how Rodgers gets on with Law. So, yeah. John McCall saying Maresco would move on quicker than Ange with any success. Look how many jobs he has held so far.
I think that's just the landscape. I think that's just the landscape of managerial roles now.
Helen Feeks is saying, whoever we get, I'm sure Celtic fans will all get behind them for more glory. And Kaiser saying, one, Kaiser Celtic can move for players till we know who's leaving, up till we know who's coming in. Patrick McGoughan, usually when it goes odds on like that, it's a formality talking about Rodgers, I suppose.
I said that about Eddie Howe. And I'm not willing to let my heart get broken again. So it's one of those ones.
Derek Crawford saying, I thought Rodgers came out and said he didn't want it. He was supposed to be taking a year out, wasn't he? So that's and
his name isn't going away.
Yeah, Kirsty O'Connor saying she sent through a message. Robert Wallace saying Brendan Rodgers would ruin this team.
Could potentially better this team. He could better this team. You never know. It's one of those ones you don't know until you see the results on paper.
Pete McGee saying Maresca has no problem success as a manager. No ways are good enough to manage Celtic. Just ask Palmer. Plunge McNugget saying keep Scott Brown at Fleetwood, and Graham Martin with the middle name of Celtic person. He would give Brendan Rodgers another go. John McCauley, not a chance for Bruni 12th in League One. Nowhere near good enough. And
not as a manager, but as an assistant manager.
Yeah, surprise. Kaiser saying surprise. No one has thrown Maloney in with the City link, and Michael Ross is saying smacks of desperation going for Rodgers. Sned 1967. Rodgers was at a Celtic match recently. Maybe a hint to see what reaction he got. And sadly, Ryan, you might be right. Bruni needs a few more years behind his belt, but he's been successful down the road. Derek Crawford, Kennedy with wee Gordon Strachan as a director of football. Tony, 4 question marks. What do we think of that? You're shaking your head.
He's already the director of football or one of the advisors at Dundee, so that would leave a conflict of interest. I remember when Gordon Strachan came into the squad or came into the team in that sort of advisory role in 2021. I think he was working with the youth team. I remember going to a couple of B team matches and seeing him in the crowd watching the B team. So that's an interesting one, but I think he's quite happy being a sort of fan now rather than involved with the club.
Marcello Gallardo says Robert Hangland, former manager of Racing Club, currently on a sabbatical, ticks quite a few boxes. Is he not the former manager of River Plate? I think Marcello, wasn't he? He enjoyed some great success, didn't he? So, listen, all sorts of names, as you say, a merry-go-round. Pete McGee saying Maresca is an assistant, not a proven manager. And Patrick McLaughlin saying a 2-year shelf life for ambitious managers now, with regard to, and Michael Ross coming in. Robert, I thought it was River Plate Gallardo managed. Yeah, just managed to catch that there. So, yeah. And John Boy saying, as Martin O'Neill all of a sudden became a sounding board for Celtic on TV yesterday with promoting Brendan Rodgers, is he testing the water for a fan's response on behalf of Celtic? Did notice that. He was speaking very highly of Brendan Rodgers on TV yesterday, so seems a bit stupid. But Martin O'Neill's been doing a hell of a lot of media recently when he was managing to keep himself to himself, didn't he? He didn't do much apart from pressers, but he's been on the kind of, well, obviously he's launched the book as well, so talking about that, but did a lot of media, even came on the Celtic Way, myself and Sean, which was it's a wonderful hour of my life spent talking to Martin O'Neill. So yeah, he's doing the right, but yeah, he did speak highly of Brendan Rodgers yesterday, Ryan.
Yeah, a fellow countryman as well, you would say the two. It's great to see Martin O'Neill doing so well and sort of doing so many media appearances. It was great to see him sort of taking the SPFL trophy, the Premiership trophy, out onto the pitch for the players to lift up. It's a shame he's probably on a wee bit on the old side to maybe come back in a managerial role now. As much as he was saying on Monday Night Football that he's still got that hunger and that fire in him to be a manager, I think maybe that time's passed for him. And sometimes you could make the same argument for Rodgers, but sometimes it's just not as good the second time. But it is good to see him doing. It's good to see him do well, and it sounds like he wants his fellow countrymen to get that job, because he said the fans would forgive him. Do you know, if he gets Martin O'Neill's back, and then he'll get my back, and that's for sure. Who am I to say that Martin O'Neill's wrong?
Jeremy McCanny would love to see Brendan Rodgers back at Celtic. Michael Ross Gallardo would be interesting. And Blinders are back. Gallardo's renowned for spotting a player. Celtic would be, he would take that risk. And Raymond Harden come in. Would Davy Moyes come into the frame after last night winning?
Probably not. No.
Yeah.
He's a bit untouchable now at West Ham, I think.
Becomes the 8th Scottish manager, I believe, to win a European trophy. People don't want Brendan. Plunge McNugget. People don't want Brendan. Who do they want? And Brian Roberts says he thinks Martin could be a great ambassador for Celtic. I think so too. Well, he certainly is on his daily life.
I think he does. I think he does it voluntary, to be honest.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And Bell's Brigade is saying, is Rodgers interested? We're only going on what we have seen in the media, and the media has reported that he's not interested in coming back. But there's bookies have stopped taking. At one point yesterday, bookies stopped taking money for him, didn't they? And then
he's currently 8 to 11.
Maybe reappeared, but he's still the favourite, isn't he?
8 to 11, yeah, just now.
Yeah, he's still. So there you go. And Pete McGee still. It's got to be Nixon. He's banging the Nixon drum. So
it went quiet in that now. It's went quiet in his sort of chat. I wonder if he's trying to sort of get his move to Ajax, which would make sense. It would make sense if he went to Ajax, because Ajax are like the bigger version of Bodo Glimt with regards to bringing in their talent and selling them on. They're just a bigger factory, basically. Which, if he's got that track record of being able to do that, then it would be an easy transition for him to join Ajax. And despite where Ajax have finished in the table, I think it was third they finished, either second or third. I know they didn't win the league. It was Feyenoord that won the league, obviously, but it's still an attractive job. It's such an attractive. They've got a phenomenal stadium, really passionate fans. I know the fans don't really get on with Celtic fans too well, but phenomenal. That'd be a good move for him. I wouldn't grudge him that if he was to go to Ajax over Celtic.
Good manager Rodgers, but not for me, Tony says Stephen Lemon. A lot of the chat has gone to Raymond Haddon. Tony, have you put your name in the hat? No, I haven't. Certainly not.
What would the tactic be? Free scoring, never boring?
Rip roaring, free scoring, never boring Glasgow Celtic. Yeah, you would be an all-out attack. You know what I mean? They score 5, we score 6. It
As
would
long as
be
I can be
very
your assistant, Tony, I'll be quite happy.
well. My nickname at school was Ants, so you just change it a wee bit and call it Ants Ball, couldn't you?
Ants,
You know what I mean?
If you can
So
work as hard as Ants, we'll be doing all right.
oh, without a doubt, you know. So that's you know, it's Kaiser. I could get behind a Tony squad, indeed. Although my old man who ran football teams told me there was only one formation in football, and it was 4-4-2 if it was done right. His teams were quite successful. But I'm I'm an entertainer. I'm with Bertie Alden. I go out there and entertain. You know, so I think I would be a 4-3-3 guy. You know, with wingers getting it into.
I'm a 4-3-3 guy as well. I can get behind that as well.
I'm right.
And that's the thing I was taught.
Haggerty. Oh, I've got many nicknames by the way, so just pair many ones from hundreds of.
If they're saying you look like Tom Hardy, then I'd take that as a compliment. In that Legend movie done 8 years ago.
It's like, remember that bit in Roxanne where Steve Martin throws the dart at the board and hits 20 and then describes 20 kind of things with a big nose. I've got many nicknames, just anybody with glasses basically. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's the Glasgow Celtic way. Tony says Seamus. Yeah, indeed. And somebody says the wardrobe playing as a holding midfielder, the infamous wardrobe that I'm facing. But yeah, but no, Stephen Lemon. Let's hope it's happy Mondays, Tony, or you're out of job. Very much so, very much so. But yeah, lots of comments coming in still about the manager, Steve McGrory. Morning, Steve, regular contributor. If it's not Knutson, then Areola sounds like a person of interest. Done a fantastic job with Rayo Vallecano, highly rated in Spain, and no compo involved. You're a free agent now. At least talk to the man. You know my thoughts on these things, Steve. Ryan, when we mentioned him earlier in the programme and we spoke about that, there wouldn't be any compensation involved. He is highly rated in Spain, and he did a cracking job with Rayo Vallecano, whatever way you want to pronounce it. So yeah, these are persons of interest to me, Steve, as is Knutson, as is Graham Potter, and I guess as is Brendan Rodgers. So you've got to go and ask the questions. Tony's a tall
just had a wee look at Vallecano's squad there. They finished 12th last season in La Liga, which is quite good going for them. I think they finished higher the season before, actually. But they're a team that obviously when you were watching La Liga because of Messi and Ronaldo, etc.,
yes,
they were a team that was sort of fighting relegation every season, or they'd maybe go down one season and come up the next. But you'd always see their names. It was always Vallecano and Valladolid as well. But just looking at their squad, they've got probably my favourite striker growing up, still leading the line. I think he must be about 37 or 38. Radamel Falcao. He plays for Rayo Vallecano. So what a phenomenal player he was in his prime. Obviously, people remember him at Man United and Chelsea having flopped there. But if you've seen him at Atletico Madrid or Porto, or even at Monaco in the later sort of stages, what a player he was. He was some player. Imagine seeing him in the hoops in his prime.
Yes, he would have been brilliant. Yeah, lots of players I'd love to have seen at Celtic in their prime. Robert Prozinecki being one of them, always liked it. So was Stojkovic as well, Yakin, guys like that going back.
I remember him playing. Him playing, and we played Atletico Madrid. I think it was in the Europa League under Lennon. I think Falcao scored. I remember the headline was it Berham Kyle ducked out of the free kick that Falcao had scored. But you always remember his long hair. I remember he shaved off his long hair, and he just wasn't the same player after that. You've got to keep the locks. No, he was just a phenomenal player to watch. I remember, I think it was the Super Cup he played against Chelsea. He scored this amazing bicycle kick against Chelsea. Incredible player.
Yeah. James Murray coming in and saying, I think the fact that Celtic fans are mentioning Knutson, Potter, Rodgers, etc., kind of shows how far Celtic have come to have these top end managers linked with the job. I think that's a fair comment as well. And Welsh Coatland, there another. Tony actually looks like Kevin Costner in JFK movie. It's just getting absurd now and bizarre, isn't it? But I did have black glasses like this once, and I was Denzel Washington was my favourite. That someone once said to me, "We're in the Glasgow nightclub." Yeah, exactly. He had glasses in one of his films, and he looked like Denzel. I was like, okay.
Have you been from Training Day?
Yeah, Training Day. That's the film. Couldn't remember the film, but yeah, basically anybody that had these kind of glasses, people would say, "Do you know who you look like?" And I was kind of producing a list like that. So yeah, indeed. Remember seeing Prozinecki in the 1-0 Zagreb game. Yes, indeed, these all kind of players. But it's managers we're talking about. Don Harlow, LP, Zidane for managers, LP for back. Zidane and David.
Wouldn't mess with him. You would not mess with him.
Vallecano were punching well above their weight the last 2 seasons. Areola has done a great job with them. So yeah, it's Robert Wallace, Malcolm X. See, that's again specs. There you go. Either that or Super. There you go. Yeah, see, there you go. And Steve McGrory comes in. Ryan, according to Wiki, Ryan were 11th last season, ahead of Sevilla, 12th the season before. So there you go.
That's very interesting. That's a great. That he must have done a really, really good job. Maybe that is the sort of manager that Celtic should be going for. This manager that can improve teams year upon year. Now I know you need to sort of implement a winning mentality if you come to Celtic. At Celtic, second is last, so he'd need to change his sort of style. But he could be one of these managers that comes in and hits the ground running. But it's whether or not he's a person of interest to the Celtic board. You just hope that Celtic have done their due diligence and know that these sorts of calibers of manager is available to them.
On that second is last note on the website today, you'll find I have spoken to Paul Lambert, and he's given me what's in the DNA required of a Celtic manager, what's required in their DNA, and he's given me a big interview on that, and it's an excellent read, well worth hearing the thoughts of Paul Lambert. Raymond Haddon coming in. Tony, are Celtic waiting for you to hand in your resignation to the Celtic way so they can move for you? As long as I can take Ryan as my assistant, then that'd be fine. You'd be up for that, wouldn't you, Ryan?
I'm desperate to see Hagball. 4-3-3, no defending.
Ants ball, whatever you want to call it.
Take either way.
Yeah, either way, yes, indeed.
That could be 2 different formations then, if those 2.
Yeah. Well, a good manager always listens to his assistant, doesn't he? They'll take one. So yes, indeed. But yeah, I mean, it will rumble on. I know we're making light of it the past couple of minutes there, but we are trying to deal with it in the most professional way possible. All sorts of names being thrown in to the hat, and you know, we're strapping ourselves in for lots more days like this, aren't we, Ryan?
Yeah.
So,
I think the sort of links with obviously yesterday we were hearing about Des Buckingham being linked with the job. Now that's obviously turned out to be false, but I was reading a report that said that the City group really rate Des Buckingham highly. So if he was the sort of guy to come in as a number 2, that'd be a really good sort of contingency planning in case a manager would go away or he would get scouted by a bigger club. Having that number 2 to then come in as the number 1 would be an easy transition. I'd quite like to see that long-term planning at Celtic, but I don't know at the same time if that would wash with the Celtic fans, having somebody that's not really made their name in the game. I guess it'll all show with what happens on the park. I mean, if you're good on the park, then the fans will accept you off the park. So it is an interesting sort of period. We'll probably get another 100 names before we get to our main candidate or our winning candidate for the role. But at least we don't have Champions League qualifiers to go through. We can sort of enjoy this time. We can enjoy the fact that we've won a treble. We've got every trophy to our name, and yeah, what an attractive job it is for a manager to come into.
Welsh Courtland saying, seriously, can't believe that Celtic supporters are not going 100% behind Brendan Rodgers. It's each to their own in terms of Brendan Rodgers, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a very divisive subject, and there is no right answer. Much like I said with regards to Postecoglou leaving, there is no right way to feel. You're allowed your own opinion on it, but at the same time, I think it's only fair that if he did get the job again, the Celtic fans would back him, because yes, the way they left, and this is just a quick point that I would make. Postecoglou and Rodgers done the same thing. It's just the timing was different for Rodgers. That is the only difference. Postecoglou left us to go down south. The only difference is Rodgers left us halfway through a season and kind of left us in the lurch a wee bit. But they both did leave us at the end of the day.
Yeah. Gary Madden comes in. Adidas wouldn't be happy with you, Ryan, rocking all the Fred Perry clobber.
Sorry.
And Frank Green saying, take away the emotions, Rodgers is top class. And Mark Taylor coming in. Morning, Mark, how you doing? Is there an English manager who'd fit straight into the ethos we now have?
Potter.
Well, that's the one I was thinking of as well. And Steve McGrory saying, well said, Ryan, we have all got to process departures, etc. in our own way. There's no right or wrong way. Correct about that.
Yeah, it's there is no right or wrong way, and fans can feel the way that they want to feel. But I think it's important that whoever gets the job, once they're in, there needs to be a unified backing, because Celtic are in a good place, and division will not help the new manager coming in, regardless of who it is. We need to just ride this crest of a wave that we've got. Despite what people say, Celtic are in a phenomenal place with regards to trophies, with regards to the squad. If we bring somebody in that can continue that, then I think we'll be doing okay.
Beach Boys makes a point I was making earlier. It's about winning football matches. The new manager's job is to win football games. It's not a likeable contest. If Rodgers brings success, all the mourners will be singing his name. I entirely feel on board with that. I think football fans can be fickle at the best of times, but if you do what it says on the tin, and any manager that comes in and continues a domestic success, but part of their remit has to be, doing better in Europe, claiming scalps, at least getting third in the Champions League group table and getting to the latter stages of the Europa League. That has to be part of the remit coming in, and whoever gets the job, the fans will get behind them and hope that they can do that. So I believe that if it's Rodgers, then the fans will get behind them. And anyone coming in, they will get behind. They have to, because someone is going to be named the new manager of Celtic, Ryan. They have to get their backing. You can be sceptical, like people were with Ange, but he got the backing, didn't he, from the supporters very early?
Yeah, that's the thing, and that was the great thing about Postecoglou. I remember there was a lot of doubts. A lot of it was created by the media, to be honest, with regards to talking about his coaching badges and how he'd not really managed in Europe. He'd only managed once, and it was a third division Greek side. But once he was through the door, and I think once people heard his first interview and heard how enthusiastic he was about joining the club, a lot of people were quickly on his side. And then after that press conference they done, especially, the two press conferences, the one with the media was great because he shot down any questions regarding like a step up in class or anything like that. But the fan media one, when he's speaking to the fans, he was outlining his sort of vision for the club. I think you can really sell yourself to the Celtic fans, and if you say the right things and you mean it when you say it, then the Celtic fans will be behind you all the way. So I realised that if Rodgers was to come back and get the job, he'd have a lot of grovelling to do with regards to some of the things that happened. But I'd like to see him give it a go. I'll be honest, I would like to see him give it a go.
Steve McGrory, Maresca isn't for him, but if he is the chosen one, then we all need to get behind him, and the Celtic supporters will. Robert Gibson saying we have to get behind Rodgers to prevent him from running off.
We need Maldini in as the director of football so he can defend him so he doesn't run off.
Red Scotland, hasn't Rodgers ruled himself out? If so, why are we still talking about Brendan as if someone has inside information? We're talking about him, Red, because the betting was suspended on him yesterday and he is still the favourite for the Celtic job, with most bookmakers. Read into that what you will, but we were getting the Celtic supporters and the community on the Celtic Ways opinion of whether they would welcome back Rodgers or not. It seems to be the hot topic amongst other candidates. Tam Mack saying he has ruled himself out. Has he? I know he said he was maybe wanting to take a year out, but
there was no quotes directly attached to that article. So
yeah.
You can't. These situations, I would say, they're ever changing. They're changing every 10 minutes. You look at the betting odds. I mean, you've seen within 10 minutes, Des Buckingham became a guy that I'd heard of, and 10 minutes ago I'd never even heard of the guy. So it's just the way that goes. It's constantly changing. Until we hear about more concrete things, it's all speculation. But we've got to cover it, because at the end of the day, it's the close season. This is the big story. We need to talk about the fact that the manager's job is vacant, and we need to talk about the managers that are potentially linked with the jobs, or the individual that are linked with this job, because it's a position that does need filled, and it needs filled quickly. The sooner the better, in my opinion.
Yes. And Alan Wood saying bookies know things, certainly too. And Jamie Young said he said himself at one point that he wanted another crack. It was just all about timing, wasn't it? So we shall see.
I see a lot of comments. I see a lot of comments about Muscat, and I know that'd be an even tougher sell. That'd be an even tougher sell than Rodgers, no doubt about it, because of the fact that he played for Rangers for that season. But if you're looking for continuity, I don't think there's a better choice for continuity than the guy that replaced Postecoglou at Yokohama, that won the league with the players that he sort of inherited off of Postecoglou. So it's an interesting link. I don't know if it would wash with the Celtic fans. That'd be an even tougher sell, but it's a name that doesn't seem to be going away as well. So it's very much a watch this space.
Yes, and Eki Boy comes in saying, I love my football club, but people in the Celtic supporting fan base have got short memories. Just look at the trophies that Rodgers won. That's another opinion. So, and some people actually saying that Moyes would be a good fit as well. Others saying they wouldn't be. So, as you say, Ryan, we have to talk about the candidates as they come up. We threw it open to a Q&A, and Rodgers seems to be the name that's been talked about the most, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely is. It seems to be a lot of the same sort of candidates. That's the funny thing. Over the past 6 years, whenever there's a vacancy at Celtic for the manager's job, you'll get the usual suspects. I know we've got Kaiser Soze in the comments. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Kaiser Soze in the managerial running with the usual suspects. Is a wee nod to that famous movie in the 90s. But yeah, it seems as if the same names come up time and time again. So it's one that will keep on going until something concrete happens. But like I said before, I want this resolved sooner rather than later, so that we're not sort of underprepared for the pre-season, because if we are bringing in a new manager with new ideas, you want him to have the full pre-season to implement those ideas, to ensure that there's no rustiness with the implementation process.
Red Scotland, Brendan and Bruni's a dream team, guys. Think about it. We spoke about that earlier.
I love the sound of that.
That's probably a good note to end it on, because we'll talk about it all again tomorrow. Hope you have a wonderful Thursday, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for your comments again. Couldn't do it without you. Enjoyed that again today. We shall see the Celtic managerial hunt continues in earnest. All sorts of names being linked to the post. Would you take Brendan Rodgers back? That's the $64,000 question, isn't it? Derek Crawford, brilliant show as usual, as considering not a huge amount of facts out there. Have a fantastic day, everyone, and God bless you all. That's very kind. Thank you. And Brendan Rodgers would love that. The return of the prodigal son. Wales Courtland saying thanks, son. Steve Lim saying thanks, guys. Stay green and white, Pony Boy. I think he's talking to me as in Shetland Pony. Enzo Maresca from me says Tippy. And Jason Lee, thanks, guys. Thank you. So we appreciate it. We're all still here, says Gary. We are indeed. Jamie Young, enjoy your day, folks. Well, all that remains for me to say is direct you to the strapline along the bottom. If you enjoyed today, then why not subscribe, and you can get unlimited access to everything that's written on the website. Subscribe to the Celtic Way website and help support top quality journalism covering the club you love. We endeavour to provide that. Myself, Ryan, and young Aidan as well. and it's all for a click of a button, guys. www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. That's www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. Thank you very much for your contribution today. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the sun if it's out. Ryan, first class as always, and well done again, sir, on your academic achievements. Top man.
Thank you very much, mate. Appreciate it.